This is a reading from the book The Cup of Destiny, The Quest for the Grail by Trevor Ravenscroft. The teaching of the Buddha is summarized in his famous sermon at Benares, in the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The first truth concerned the existence of suffering in the world. Birth is suffering, death is suffering, separation from loved ones is suffering. To be unable to attain that which you desire is suffering. The second truth concerns the cause of suffering. The causes of suffering rest in the fact that the thirst for existence insinuates itself into man from the results of his deeds in former incarnations. Man is characterized by ignorance, his blindness to what he has brought over from a previous earth life, which has now become an integral part of him. Because of his lack of perception, everything which confronts him from evil powers in the universe, and which he would otherwise ward off, has been transformed into his thirst for existence. Man's thinking has developed out of his craving for life, and this is why people are quite unable to think objectively. Buddha made a fine distinction between objective thinking, which has nothing but the object in view, and the type of thinking influenced by personal desire. Everything acquired as only an apparent truth, not as the result of objective thought, but because old inclinations have been brought from previous lives on earth, forms a hidden organ of inclination. This organ of inclination promises the sum total of the way a man thinks because of certain experiences in former incarnations. This hidden organ of inclination even affects the sense organs. It is especially influential in the eye. Hence, the eye does not see with pure vision. It would look into the outer world quite differently if it were not inwardly permeated with the residue of karma from earlier lives. The result is that there is mingled into all things the desire to see this or that, hear this or that, taste this or that, or perceive in one way or another. What has remained from earlier incarnations as desire is insinuated in everything man encounters on his present cycle of life. If this element of desire or craving were absent, man would look into the world as a divine being. He would let the world work upon him and no longer desire more than is granted to him, nor wish his knowledge to exceed that which was bestowed upon him by divine powers. That is to say, he would make no distinction between himself and the outer world, but would feel himself part of it. Man feels himself separated from the rest of the world only because he craves for more and different enjoyment than the world offers him. This leads to the consciousness that he is different from the world. If he were satisfied with what is in the world, he would not distinguish himself from it. He would feel his own existence continuing into the outer world. He would never experience what is called contact with the outer world, for not being separate from it, he could not come into contact with it. Contact with the world gives rise to feeling, and feeling to the urge to cling to the outer world. And it is because man tries to cling to the outer world that pain, toil, and death arise. The third noble truth of the Buddha concerns the manner in which suffering is eliminated in the world. By eliminating its cause, by extinguishing the thirst for existence, which has arisen through ignorance. Men have lost their original dull clairvoyance. Men have, as a result, become ignorant because the great macrocosm of spiritual beings has been concealed from them. This ignorance is to blame for the thirst for existence, which in its turn has caused pain, toil, and death. We have illustrated in our interpretation of the battle for the city of Petalumt how Wolfram von Eschenbach's poem of the Grail is structured into 16 ventures, which relate to the development of a subtle organ of vision into the realities of the spirit. And we have shown how the original dull clairvoyance is reanimated of itself, like the calyx of a flower, opening out to unveil the blossom. It is the new eightfoldness of this organ of vision which Buddha seeks to develop in man with his teaching of love and compassion on the path to a sublime consciousness which releases the human soul from the coils of karma. The 8 qualities to be developed on the Eightfold Path are right view. Man attains true knowledge of the world when he acquires a right view of things, a view that has nothing to do with sympathy and antipathy or preference of any kind. He must strive continuously to acquire the right view of each thing, purely according to what presents itself to him outwardly. Right judgment. Secondly, man must become independent of what has remained from earlier incarnations. He must also endeavor to judge in accordance with the right view of a thing and must not be swayed by other influences. Right speech. The third principle is that he must strive to give true expression to what he wishes to communicate to the world. Having first acquired the right view and the right judgment of it, not only his words, but every manifestation of his being must express his own right view, that and that alone. Right action. The fourth principle is that man must strive to act not according to his sympathies and antipathies, not according to the dark forces of desire within him, samskara, but in such a way that he lets his right view, right judgment, and right speech become deed. In such a way, action is fully born. Right vocation. The fifth principle enabling a man to liberate himself from what is within him is that he should acquire the right vocation and station in life. Many people are dissatisfied with the tasks that life gives them, believing always that some other position would be more advantageous. But a man should be able to derive from the situation which fate has placed him in the best that is possible. That is to acquire the right occupation or vocation. Whoever finds no satisfaction in the situation which his destiny brings him will not be able to derive from it the power to unfold the right activities in the world. Right habits. The sixth principle is that man should make increasing efforts to ensure that what he acquires through right views, right judgment, right speech, and right action shall become habit for him. He is born into the world with certain habits, but his endeavor should be directed not towards retaining these habits, proceeding from the thirst for existence, but towards acquiring those that gradually become his own as the result of right views, right judgment, right speech, and so on. Right mindfulness. The seventh principle is that a man should bring order into his life through invariably remembering yesterday when he has to act today. He would never accomplish anything if he had to learn his skills anew each time. He must strive to develop recollection and mindfulness regarding everything in his life. He must always turn to account what he has already learned. He must link the present with the past. Thus, along the Eightfold Path, man must acquire right mindfulness in accordance with Buddha's teaching. Right contemplation. The eighth quality is acquired when, without partiality for one view or another, without being influenced by any element remaining in him from former incarnations, he surrenders himself with pure devotion to the things of the world, immerses himself in them, and lets them speak to him. This is the eightfold path, which, if followed correctly, will gradually lead to the extinction of the craving for life with its attendant suffering, and thus impart to the soul something that brings liberation from elements enslaving it from past lives on earth.